Hello all, I'm Just Daniel, and I want to talk about great moments in comics. Gregg Hurwitz's astounding penguin tale, Penguin, Pain and Prejudice, is considered by many to be the definitive portrayal of the infamous Batman villain Oswald Cobblepot, a.k.a. the Penguin. Hurwitz takes us back to Oswald's troubled childhood, showing us the cruelty and torment he was forced to endure at the hands of bullies, including his own reprehensible father. It's easy to see how and why the Penguin that we've come to know is so fueled by hatred and bitterness, now enacting upon Gotham the very cruelty that was inflicted upon him as a young boy. Calls to mind a famous quote from Shakespearean villain Richard III. "If I cannot prove a lover to entertain these fair, well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain and hate the idle pleasures of these days." Basically, Penguin's unspoken mantra is, if the world wants to kick me around, then I'm going to fight to survive at any and all costs, usurping the very top of the food chain. And the world will feel my wrath. You can definitely argue that Cobblepot's a believer in a dog-eat-dog world. We also learn of his lifelong devotion to his mother, one of the precious few people that ever showed him any love, as well as his tender relationship with a blind woman named Cassandra, a relationship with ultimately tragic results. These relationships effectively serve the purpose of giving Oswald a layer of humanity and vulnerability, a realistic pathology that we, the readers, can connect with, though a great many of the Penguin's actions are horrifying. As the story opens, we are in the Iceberg Lounge nightclub, getting an inside look at the Penguin's life as the kingpin of Gotham. Narrated by Penguin himself, we learn of the extent of his wealth and power, and the iron grip he has on the criminal underworld. "I am feared. The chefs know not to make eye contact. The cocktail waitresses smile, but only with their mouths. The patrons, all deferential grins and handshakes with sweaty palms. Money and power. The slightest lift of my finger sends grown men scrambling. A tilt of my chin delivers a new girl to my office after the show." This fly-on-the-wall glimpse of Oswald's mob life evokes the cinematic exploits of real-life gangster Henry Hill in Martin Scorsese's immortal classic, Goodfellas. This is arguably the quintessential portrayal of the Penguin as a cold-blooded mobster, a gangster, a criminal who enjoys the finer things in life, someone not to be trifled with or underestimated. Oh, he may not be physically imposing, but he doesn't have to be. Very interestingly, there are also shades of the deformed, tragic, bizarre figure portrayed by Danny DeVito in Tim Burton's Batman Returns. Those elements are effectively incorporated by Gregg Hurwitz, creating his own unique take on the character, while giving him qualities that are familiar to the audience that we identify as being the Penguin. And now for the great moment I want to talk about. I know, finally. See, just as we're getting acquainted with Oswald, a literal collision takes place. "Why don't you watch where you're going, fat ass?" "I am so sorry, Mr. Cobblepot, sir. I mistook you. My stupid mouth. I would never have..." "Not to worry, lad. Have 'em brought." Penguin indeed has this poor, unfortunate soul brought. Later that evening, the man continues to apologize profusely. And then we witness the true extent of Penguin's villainy, as he effectively dismantles this guy's life for simply bumping into him and, well, foolishly running his reckless mouth. It's the latter that likely sealed his fate. "Right now, in your world, your boss discovered some inconsistencies in your quarterly sales figures. A bit of moderately challenging forensic accounting shows that you've embezzled from him a tidy little sum. It seems you left a pot of soup burning on the stove before you went out tonight. Those old apartments, well, they just go up like kindling." And that's just the tip of the, iceberg. Cobblepot further tells this poor sap that his sweet elderly neighbor died in that very fire. What's more, the man's parents die in a tragic car accident, their brakes no doubt tampered with by Penguin's men. And to add devastating insult to injury, the man had recently taken his parents' car for a tune-up. So their likely last thoughts are that their own son is responsible for their deaths, though he's completely innocent. And for the nail in the proverbial coffin, Oswald mentions the man's friend, perhaps lover, a woman named Jenny, who is being murdered as they speak. "Oh, I'd love to catch up more, but I'm needed downstairs. Have a nice weekend." And with that, the man is left a quivering mess on the floor of Oswald Cobblepot's office. Penguin's verbal obliteration of this man and his ruination of the man's life as he knows it is a great moment in comics because, firstly, it is the ultimate badass villain scene, right? I mean, Penguin completely destroys this guy by calmly explaining in detail how he is taking everything from him at that very moment. It also shows just how far Penguin's power and influence stretch, and how quickly. In no time at all, he has these horrific deeds actually carried out by his men, and it clearly does not take them long to find out all they need to know about this dude. The Penguin is powerful, pure and simple. He owns nearly everyone and everything, save a certain Caped Crusader and honest cop. If you cross him, or at the very least he thinks you crossed him, it's curtains, game over, you're done. This story delivers the most dangerous, ruthless, formidable version of the Penguin we have ever seen. And it would appear that Matt Reeves is wisely taking a page or two out of Gregg Hurwitz's playbook. Alright, second, the placement of this scene is critical as well. It is deliberate, it is no accident. It comes after a series of harrowing sequences depicting just how hard Oswald Cobblepot had it growing up. We feel genuine sympathy for him as the people in his life make him feel completely worthless, unloved, and hated. And then we see the man he is today, which is downright terrifying. We see him as a true threat to society that the Batman has to take down. And yet, we understand how and why he becomes who he becomes, regardless of the lives he is capable of ruining. If you haven't picked up Penguin, Pain, and Prejudice, you should, especially if you're a fan of the character. Seriously, the Penguin, in my mind, is in the top tier of not only Batman's rogues gallery, but any superhero's rogues gallery, Marvel or DC. And he's just one of the greatest villains to appear in any medium. Well, thank you for watching the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Just Daniel.